As you can see, I'm going a little casual today. It's a lazy Sunday, and I thought I'd spend the time going through a coworker's G.I. Joe collection that he loaned me so that I could help him organize it, similar to what I did for another coworker last year. You might have seen that video on our YouTube channel. The difference here is that this G.I. Joe collection is far more expansive. It was put into two very large Rubbermaid storage bins. Vehicles, playsets, action figures, accessories, you name it. And what was wild about it was it's a real time capsule. This collection was packaged up in 1989, and it's just being opened by me now. His parents were very meticulous about how they put these toys into storage. They kept every piece. They have all the file cards. They have all the instruction sheets. A lot of the pilots and drivers, much like an archaeological dig, were found still at their station when I opened the bins up. And when I pulled the figures out, the O-rings just cracked off because I guess they'd been in an attic or something for that long. But what we're going to do is similar to what I did last time. We're going to organize these, find out what weapons are still left. I imagine many of them are still left. We're going to put these characters back together. We're going to marry them up with their file cards and see what we have when we get done. I have never seen a collection that's this complete. Normally there are a lot of parts missing, but here it looks like the parts are mixed in somewhat randomly, but largely they're all here. And it looks like he has a really good collection of characters that just need some repair. I hope I have enough parts to do the reparations necessary to get this collection back on its feet. So let's just see what we can find. So you can see a lot of these G.I. Joes are starting to really lose their stability because their O-rings are starting to go bad. So we'll have to, do a number of replacements. But I mean, just look at the condition of these figures. I mean, the symbols on the figures are perfect. It looks like they were barely touched. You'd think they weren't even played with, some of them. Wow, look at this. You can't see it, but you'll just take my word for it. Firefly still has his CB radio in his hand. That's incredible. Once again, another tiny part that's still with these characters. This is the CB radio for Mainframe, and it's still here, as if he never had any problem keeping up with this stuff. It's amazing. I mean, we have some typical issues. We have yellowing storm shadows, which, that's something that, a lot of people are trying to fix, but I just don't think you're going to really be able to avoid that. There's a lot of talk about the RetroBright and the hydrogen peroxide solutions, but then it requires you to do touch-up paint work on the character itself after you're done. And let's face it, I mean, Storm Shadow was the most popular action figure in the whole line. I argue he was more popular than Snake Eyes because all of them are played with, all of them have loose joints. This is almost identical to my childhood Storm Shadow as far as his condition. And look at this, he even has a second one. He must have loved this character so much he went out and got another one, or someone gave him to him, but they're both, the legs are loose because you were always doing karate kicks with him. And it is nice to see that even though he kept meticulous care of his toys, his Storm Shadow is in no better shape than mine. I think one of the frustrations of collecting G.I. Joes and Masters of the Universe and action figures that have rubber internal parts is that no matter what you do, that rubber is going to break down, and then you're going to have to repair the figures at some point. If you're going to be a lifelong collector of G.I. Joes, then you're going to have to go back through your Joe collection and repair them by replacing these O-rings probably twice more in your lifetime. And that also depends on storage conditions and everything else. With Masters of the Universe, of course, you're going to have to modify your figures in many ways. You're going to have to drill eye hooks into the legs so that you can thread O-rings through them to sort of jury rig a solution because of the way they were constructed. The nice thing is that they are reparable, but it is kind of annoying to know that you'll have to do that. Now, by contrast, Star Wars figures and other characters don't have that problem, but if they get damaged, there's really no way to replace parts or correct them without, modifying them from original. But what I don't understand are the collectors of G.I. Joe that just want to collect mint on card. I think that's a ticking time bomb for your investment, because no matter what you do, time is going to rot away those O-rings inside. It's going to crack those elbow joints, and you're just going to have a pile of disembodied limbs in a mint bubble. At that point, I don't care what anybody says. That level of acceptance, I don't think, is ever really, going to be adopted, because there'll always be somebody out there that has the last surviving intact Storm Shadow on a mint on card bubble that hasn't cracked in half yet due to time. And so his will still hold its value while yours will deteriorate. I see the high prices for these mint on card Joes right now, and I think, gosh, if I was to pay $2,000 for a mint on card Snake Eyes, and then I knew that 10 years from now he was just gonna fall apart in the package, I don't know if I would be very happy with the end result. I feel like they're high priced now because our generation is in a buying market, but unlike Star Wars and some other characters where, sure, the argument is that plastic is breaking down no matter what you do, but it's going to take 2 or 3 lifetimes for Star Wars figures, molecular composition to start breaking down so visibly that you can see it. On the exterior, or see a visible difference. With G.I. Joe, it's very different. You can see that character fall apart because the O-ring in the center that keeps the whole character together is just going to dry rot and flake away. So for me, doing something like this is much better, because what I'm doing is I'm adding value back into these action figures rather than watching time take value away from characters that I've invested a lot of money in and can't get to, because if I do that, I have to rip them off that card, and I paid a huge premium to get them on a sealed card, which gets me back to the whole thing of buying mint on card items anyway, but I won't go into that because that's not what this video is about. So I'm going to keep my opinions to myself and keep working and get Jason's G.I. Joes back to where they should be. A lot of times with some of these rusty screws, I find that they're not really all that rusty. There's just some surface rust, especially if they still have plenty of bite left in the top. I just rub them on my jeans to get that surface rust off, and they're usually still in good shape. Some people believe in replacing these screws, and certainly if the screw gets too rusty, you should do that. But oftentimes I find that when I'm trying to replace a screw with a new one, the new screw doesn't bite into the plastic the same way, and I get pretty nervous because I start hearing these little cracks and whatever, and I think this could certainly damage the figure. And in some cases, that has happened. A brand new screw just hasn't agreed with the old action figure, and it cracks the area around it. So I tend to try and salvage lightly rusted screws wherever I can. Some people swear you shouldn't do that, but I've found better experience trying to recycle original screws than using new ones. I only use new ones as a last resort. It's taken a few hours, but as you can see, we're at the home stretch. All that's left now is to bag the individual figures with their file cards, and we should be done with this lot. This was an amazing collection to go through. There are a few oddities. For example, given the completeness of so many of the figures, it's weird to see some figures incomplete or missing one or two parts because they were so meticulously cared for and stored. For example, I have a rifle here for Stalker, but I don't have a Stalker action figure. I have two Storm Shadows, but no weapons for them between the two of them. But you know, these things are normal for childhood toy collections, but still, with the level of completeness of these, I would have expected to find more accessories for especially figures that were duplicated within the collection. But this is nothing to, you know, thumb your nose at. This is an amazing array of original childhood toys that are complete. I mean, look at this. I have a complete Dial Tone, Spirit, Torpedo, Raptor, version 2 Snake Eyes, Toll Booth, Crimson Guard, Arctic Viper, Hooded Cobra Commander, all three original Dreadnoks, Xandar, Zarana, Cobra Officer, Quick Kick, Barbecue, Firefly, Eel. I've got complete Jinx back there, complete Bats, Frostbite, Viper, Wetsuit, Shipwreck. Yeah, Shipwreck's complete. Mainframe's complete. Beachhead, Blowtorch. I've got a complete Flint. I've got a complete Snow Job. I've got a complete Lady J. I mean, this is an incredible collection. And it's really great to see them all here and to see them all organized. So let's pair them up with their file cards, get them bagged, and we'll get them back to their owner. And that's how it's done.